Okay, so like I said a few minutes ago, literal equations are equations with several different variables. That's your first blank right here, a literal equation. The point of doing literal equations is to isolate a specific variable. So like in the formula I wrote on the board, V equals LWH, say I had the volume, the length, and the height, I could isolate the W for width and then solve for the W if I didn't know that part of it. This first equation, 5a plus c equals negative 8a. So it says solve for a. It'll always tell you which variable to isolate. When I'm solving for a, it's the same steps as before. Like you see I have a's on both sides of the equation. I need to get all the a's on one side. So I could do two ways. I could either add 8 to a or I could subtract 5a. I'm going to subtract 5a. Do y'all know why it's a better choice to subtract 5a? Yeah. If I add 8a, then I won't have anything left on the right side, which isn't that big of a deal. But then I'll have to move the c too. You should get negative 13a. So now, the a still isn't by itself. This is the same steps as before. It's negative 13 times a. So I've got to do the opposite. I've got to divide by negative 13. So these cancel. And I can't really do c divided by negative 13. So that's my answer. A is equal to c over negative 13. It's just like you're rearranging the problem to get a specific variable by itself.
So you know how like last week before we took our test, it's good to do the common denominator? When is that going to come into use?
It's going to sometimes come to use here. Okay, so the next problem, we're going to isolate the variable g. So in order to get the g by itself, I've got to move this 2h. So it's positive 2h. I will subtract it. And notice there's another h on the other side. So I'm going to subtract it from the other h. 7h minus 2h is 5h. And then I bring down the plus f is equal to g. So g is equal to 5h plus f. And it doesn't matter if you write it with the g on the left side or on the right side. Both are fine. Yes?
So you know when something is variable, like you're trying to solve for it is on something?
Yes. As soon as whatever variable it says to solve for is by itself, then you're done. Okay, letter C. It says solve for k this time. We've had problems similar to this before. What do I need to do first in this problem? Multiply by what? Good. Okay, multiply both sides by negative 7. So I'll have k plus m is equal to negative 7n. So now the k is not by itself yet. I need to move the m. I move that by doing what? Subtracting. Minus m, minus m. So k is equal to, you can just write exactly what you see here, because these are not like terms. I'm going to write negative 7n minus m. They're different variables, so you can't put them together. Yes? Well, you're not finished until this K is by itself on one side of the equal sign. So in this step right here, we still had a plus M on the left side. So I've got to get rid of that plus M so the K is completely by itself. Okay, problem D. This one is tricky. A lot of people want to start off doing D by distributing. You don't want to do that. This one, it says solve for P. Think of it this way. We have P times R plus S. I need to get rid of this R plus S. Right now I'm multiplying the P by the R plus S. What's the opposite of multiplying? Divide. What I can actually do is I can divide by R plus S. Did y'all know you can divide by something like that? So these cancel, and I have Q over R plus S is equal to P. So it's being multiplied by that whole thing, so I divide by the whole thing. Yep. Where, if this seems kind of confusing, it'll get better. We're spending 3 days on this. So we're doing this today, Wednesday, Thursday. Okay, example 2. It's about to get real. You ready? Okay, example 2. This time it says solve for Q. I want you to notice that there's 6Q and there's also QR. The first thing I want to do is I want to get all the terms with Q on one side of the equal sign. And if they don't have a Q, get them on the other side. Okay? So, what could I do first to start that process? Yeah, I need to move all the terms with Q on one side, all the terms without Q on the other side. Any ideas? We're not. We're going to be adding and subtracting terms when we're doing this. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this QR and move it to the left side. So if I'm going to move it to the left side, how do I need to do that? Subtract. I got to move the whole term. So I'm going to subtract QR. So when I'm doing this, look how I'm going to write it. I have 6Q minus 18, and then I'm going to write minus QR equals, this one's gone now, T. Which term over there on the left side doesn't have a Q in it? I need to move that to the other side. So I'm going to add 18. So now on the left side I have 6Q minus QR equals T plus 18. Okay, so I'm kind of out of room. I'm going to come up here and keep working. Nope, we're not done. We're not done until we just have Q by itself. Q is not by itself. Okay, so the problem here is I cannot do 6Q minus QR because these are not like terms. One has an R, the other one doesn't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something called factoring. 6Q and QR. Think about what do these two terms have in common? Q. I'm going to take out what they have in common. If I take out a Q from both of them, think about it. If I take out a Q from 6Q, what's left? 6. If I take out a Q from QR, what's left? This isn't a real word, so don't say it ever. But I say it's like undistributing. I'm doing the distributive property backwards. I'm taking out what they have in common. So don't ever say that because people think you're not as smart as you are. But I'm undistributing. I'm doing the distributive property but backwards. I'm taking out what they have in common. Any ideas what I'm going to do to finish this? Good. Xander said it. I'm going to divide by 6 minus r. Okay, it's just like D. Remember when we divided by r plus s? It's the same kind of thing. I'm going to divide by 6 minus r. So these cancel. Q is equal to T plus 18 over 6 minus r. The good news is that's as hard as it gets. It's not going to get any harder than that. But that problem is pretty tough. Yes? Yes. But that's okay. That's why we're doing this for 3 days. Okay, let's do B. B is the same kind of thing. This time we're going to solve for A. So our first step is we want to get all the terms with A on one side. Any ideas of what we could do? Jack? Yes, that's exactly what I would do. I would subtract 2A. So then I have 3B is equal to 6AB minus 2A. And again, I can't do 6AB minus 2A because these are not like terms. One of them has a B and one doesn't. So now, this is the step where I take out what they have in common. What does 6AB and 2A have in common? A. Raise your hand if you know what I'm going to have left in parentheses right here. Shaylin?
B minus 2.
What was the first term?
B.
Not just B.
6B.
Yeah, 6B minus 2. And now what do I do? Yeah. So, this side, these cancel. And I have A is equal to 3B over 6B minus 2. And a lot of people want to try to simplify this because there's a B on top and B on bottom. You can't. The only way you could simplify is if all 3 of these terms had the same variable. Which we'll do that one day, but not today. Was the second one easier?
Yeah.
There are 2 like that on your homework. 21 and 23 are like that. Okay, I want you to get out your homework from last night. What? I'm sorry. We'll go over it quickly. Page 115. Get out your homework from last night. Don't start on tonight's yet. Okay, I just want to look at a couple. This won't take very long. So first, you just did the ones where you cross-multiplied to see if the 2 ratios were equivalent. Number 9 was yes. 11 was no. 13 was yes. Are there any questions on those? All you're doing is cross multiplying. So then, number 15 was 40. 17 was 29.25, or 29 1/4. 19 was 9.8. 21, you didn't do. So then we jump down to 27. 27 is one I want to go over. 27, the problem was x minus 3 over 5 is equal to 6 over 10. So I've got to cross multiply. What's the important thing I have to do with that x minus 3? Parentheses. So it's going to be 10 parentheses x minus 3. And then equals 5 times 6, which is 30. So now to solve this, I'll do the distributive property. 10x minus 30 equals 30. And then I add 30. 10x is equal to 60. And divide by 10. So x is equal to 6. Okay, that one okay? 29 is the same thing. On 29 you should have gotten 11. And then the last one you did was number 31. On number 31, it says, on a map of Florida, the distance between Jacksonville and Tallahassee is 2.6 centimeters. If 2 centimeters equals 120 miles, what's the distance between the two cities? What helps here is writing the words, or at least the unit of measurement. It says 2 centimeters is equal to 120 miles. And it says how much is 2.6 centimeters. So, what is that? So the same thing, you should cross multiply and then divide 156 miles. If you were to have something like this on a justification question, this is your model right here. You're showing me how you set up your proportion. And you're doing that by showing me the units of measurements. Okay, we're good on that? Alright, y'all start on your homework.